When I used to go out weekly, at first I didn't notice the use of GHB, GBL. But the longer I went out, the sadder it made me in how I saw people in sad situations. In this video, I want to give you 3 examples of my own experiences with GHB, GBL, and also what my issues are with this drug and the behavior around it. So when people take GHB or GBL, they are always on a clock before they can take a new shot. But there is also another side to this in where people have to take it. Because if you, for example, are addicted and you suddenly stop, you could actually really hurt yourself or even die. And what I saw happening when I was going out is that when people are really on a timer and that they have to take something, the first half an hour when they take their shot, it's sort of fine. They are really overwhelmed by it. Up until they can take their next shot, they are in a total different state in where they are not comfortable with themselves, in where they keep repeating themselves, and they don't even remember what they are talking about. And I saw this situation almost every week, and it also just made me really sad. So the second thing that I saw happening was overdosing, and especially the behavior around it, because it wasn't an incident that I would sit somewhere. I saw someone really being uncomfortable, almost like not being able to help themselves. And then they would normally get picked up by a friend, drag themselves to the toilet to just take some speed to get themselves over the overdose. Lastly, the thing that I noticed was I at one point was sitting somewhere and a guy came over to me to just sit with me. But at one point the guy was like, "Hey, shall we take some drugs and go to the toilet?" I asked him what he would take and he told me G. At that moment I wasn't feeling like taking anything, so I just let him do his thing, and afterwards he came back. The moment that he came back, the energy and the atmosphere was just different. Not necessarily that I mind too much, like I've been around in the club scene for long enough to be able to handle every situation. But after we talked for a few minutes, all of a sudden he put his hand pretty high up on my leg and I saw his head turning to me. And then I was like, "Hey, what are you even doing here?" It's not even the fact that I don't fall for men, but the issue was just not even asking for consent, because then he would also know how I would feel about it. But the issue lays more in the fact that there was not even a talk about consent or if I was interested or anything. Overall, my issues with this drug is not laying with the clubs. If you are getting caught with G, then you will be kicked out anyways and most likely get a 6 months ban from the club. My issue lays more within the fact that these weren't just incidents that I just saw happening once. This happened multiple times. And I do care about people, especially when I go out, and when I see this week in, week out, it just made me really sad. Also the behavior from like friend groups where it's normalized that when someone is so far with a drug and where they have to take it because otherwise they can get serious issues, that is normalized, that is really hurting, and a friend group shouldn't normalize that. The same thing for when someone is overdosing and brings themselves in a pretty dangerous situation in where you have to drag your friend to a toilet to sort of help them through that moment. Sometimes I saw this happening multiple times a night. And don't get me wrong, I understand that you can sometimes take something too much. But especially with G, where it's so dangerous and where you can just pass out and get yourself in really sad situations, and something that I would really want to see different within the club scene. This drug is so focused as well on people getting horny or sexual excitement, in where they forget about consent, and also this brings a pretty big danger to the club scene. So yes, I knew my limits and I also knew how to protect myself from these kind of issues, but not everyone is standing as strong as me in their shoes to be able to handle these things. And that just brings pain and even more sadness. So I really think that the responsibility here with this drug lays within the club scene itself, in where people are openly talking about it. If you are seeing that your friend is struggling with a drug, be open to say something about it and confront them with it, in where they should maybe not go out but seek help for their issues, especially where this drug is quite cheap compared to other drugs. So I hope this brings some insight in the usage of G and the issues that are surrounding the club scene with it. I hope you, well, I wouldn't say like the video, but you understand my message here. And then there is nothing else to say than big hug, much love, and then I see you in the next one. Ciao, ciao.